Etsy is an e-commerce giant with millions and millions of people going on there every day to buy things, and yet it still has a very personal feel to it. You can make a shop and really have your own personality on there. So if you are looking to get a piece of your pie of Etsy and open up your own shop, well, this is the video for you. In this video, we'll be talking about not only step-by-step how to open a shop, and I'll open a shop side by side with you so you can follow along, but we'll also talk about physical products, digital products, some different product ideas, and ultimately how to rank on Etsy so that you don't have to pay for ads, but rather you can leverage Etsy's giant network of millions of people going on there a day to organically find your product and ultimately buy from your business. So it doesn't matter if you're an individual just getting started or if you have a business and you're looking to get online. This video is going to work for anybody, any seller of any size. And the good thing about Etsy is that it's very scalable as well. You can start off with just one or two products and end up with a gigantic store selling many different things as you know, a large business could. So with that being said, I'm going to head over to my laptop right now and we're going to go to Etsy.com. We're going to go to Etsy.com/sell. I'm going to slide my laptop a little bit closer. Hope you don't mind there. And we can click on Get Started. Now we can sign in with our email address or with Google, Facebook, or Apple if you prefer. Then we can enter our first name and our password. And because this is a business, I would really recommend making a very strong password. So make it at least 8 to 15 characters. You'll see on the bottom, it'll say password quality strong. Once it says that, write it down somewhere. Try not to reuse this password either, because of course, this, like I said, is going to have money involved and you don't want somebody hacking your store. So we're going to say register, and we'll talk about security later on in the video, how to make sure you don't get hacked. Now let's click on let's do this. Of course, you could read the terms of service as you saw right there. We're going to skip all of these questions. So we can skip this question as well, and we can start our shop. Now, when you get started with Etsy, you'll have to, first of all, choose a language, choose a currency. I recommend, spend some time and think about this. Make sure you're not choosing the wrong one by accident, because this would be very difficult to change. I'm going to say save and continue. Now we can name our shop, and this is something that doesn't matter nearly as much. So let's say I want to do kind of a travel themed store, maybe some decorations for your home, and I type in World Traveler. First of all, you cannot have spaces in here, and you can only have from 4 to 20 characters, so not a huge shop name. But you'll see this one's already taken. So we could either come up with a new one, or as you see down here, World Traveler by Mike, or World Traveler Mike, maybe something like that. It looks like it's available, and I'm going to save this and continue. Of course, you can come up with many different names. If you have trouble, maybe ask ChatGPT to come up with 30 names based on the style of shop you're looking to open. Now Etsy does require us to make a product right away, so we can have our first listing here, our first product, which, by the way, you can remove this and do whatever you want later. You can also add many more products, but let's start off with a legitimate first product here. And the first category, it's going to be a physical product. I'm going to sell, let's say, a candle. Let's say candle, and candles, we see that right there as the correct category. We can then scroll down. We can say, I made this candle. You can also have somebody in your shop made this candle, or another company or person. Down here, it is a finished product, or it could be a supplier tool to make things. So, for example, if you're selling a digital file that is maybe the plans to build bunk beds or something like that, or maybe just it's a template that somebody could use to sew a pillowcase. I don't know, anything like that. That would be supplies or tools, whereas this is a finished product. Now we can say, when did you make it? Well, you can make it to order. So as people order them, if it's custom, that would make sense. Or you can say, I made this within the past 5 years. Etsy then wants to know a little bit about how you made it. So it's a natural material, or it's made from scratch, or maybe it's just something that your shop alters. So maybe you buy, leather-bound books and you just engrave them on the top to have a nice burn on them, or something like that. So look through this, make sure you choose the right one, and then we're going to scroll down, and we made this with handheld tools. An AI generator can't make a candle as far as I know. And we can also add production partners down here. If you want to know more about this, just click on, is this required for you? This should answer a lot of questions about, depending on what you're making, is this your category? In summary, though, that's going to be like if you come up with the design and you have somebody else print it on t-shirts or tote bags or tea towels, something like that, then that's a production partner who's making them. Now we can say save and continue. And by the way, we'll talk about other styles of products. I'll talk about digital products later besides just this one, but we can add some more details. So let's come up with a title for this product, and we can have up to 140 characters. And this is a really big factor in your search engine optimization. So SEO is essentially how you can rank on Etsy, how people can find your product. And you don't want to just have a simple globe candle, right? You want this to really have a lot more detail. That is what is most likely going to be searched by people on Etsy. So perhaps I want to call this all natural globe candle, and then have a little separator and have some more descriptions in the title of this product. All right, so this one might be a little overkill. I have almost all 140 characters, but I'm really loading up with keywords of what I think people might search. And depending on the product you're selling, you may want this to be even phrases that you think people are looking for. So maybe like good gift for husband, or anything that people might be searching for that's more descriptive than just one or two words may be a good idea. And there are tools out there. For example, Google Trends could help you decide between, do people type in globe candle or earth candle and see what's actually being searched more, and that could be very helpful. Now down here we have photos and videos. I recommend adding as many as you can. Having all 10 photos I think is extremely valuable, and I'll talk about how to take good photos later on in the video, but for right now I'm going to have all of these. Minus that one. And honestly, for the sake of growing your business, I really recommend getting a video of some sort on here. So let me just show you a quick example. So the other day I was just looking at beekeeping stuff. I'm just getting into beekeeping, and on Etsy, if I scroll down like this one right here, look at that. So that has a video. They're selling plans to build your own beehive. And I think when you're hovering over these, like, see how this doesn't change? This one has some other photos, but if it doesn't change, it doesn't catch your eye. And if you're moving your mouse and you see a video there, it's just a lot more descriptive. It shows the customer what it is. And you can see people who have a video have twice as many orders with those listings compared to ones who just have photos. And less than 28% of sellers have listings with the video. So this does really give you an advantage. The video doesn't have to be anything crazy. You might want to go on Amazon and buy a little, let me get one. Buy a little turntable, as I did. These are pretty cheap on Amazon, and you can just set your product in the top, push a button, and it'll just gradually spin, and you can just take a simple little video of your product spinning right there. Otherwise, you could take maybe an iPhone video of your product in a nice little setup and show what it looks like. Obviously, it depends on what your product is, but having some video to show all angles of your product, how it works, what the material is. You don't need to have audio, but just showing your product is very beneficial. Now we can rearrange these photos, by the way. So the first one is going to be your thumbnail. That's the first image people see of your product. That's really the first impression as well. But if we wanted, say, this one to be the first impression, we can drag it over to the left, and the leftmost one is going to be our thumbnail. Now I actually really like this photo better, so I'm going to put that one there. And we can adjust it down here and adjust thumbnail. So if you want it a little more punched in, so you can really see what the product is, that might be a good idea. And we can say apply. Now, because this is an example store, I didn't actually spend the time to write a description, but I did have ChatGPT write one. I don't recommend you do the same. You could use this format though. I think the format's not bad, but you want to make sure it's human written. I think that's really going to convince people more to buy your product. And also, you don't want to have a bunch of paragraphs. I really recommend having a bulleted list. And probably the best thing to do is just look at what the competitors who are selling very well, look at what their format is for the description. So if we scroll down on this one, you can see if it's something more technical like this, they might have a bulleted list telling you like what's actually like, page 1, page 2. But because we're selling candles, let's check out a candle one. This one seems to be selling quite well. And if you scroll down, you'll see they have a little paragraph about how long it burns. They talk about what it's made of, the scents, what it's going to really smell like, and really important down here, candle details. You want to have as much detail as possible in here so that customers know what they're buying, the size of it, is it natural, is it not natural, the dimensions. That way you don't have as many returns, you don't have angry customers, and you don't have negative reviews because the image was maybe it made it look larger than it was. Having these descriptions that really have a lot of details on there, you see this on Amazon as well, really are quite important. And now we can add personalization. So if you want to have something engraved on there, maybe a name, if you're doing print on demand style products and you can have somebody, have like their wedding date, for example, on a print, you can have that right here and you can choose how customizable it is going to be. So are you going to have up to 1,024 characters, which is, a lot of characters if you want to have something longer there, or is it going to be something that's like a monogram? Maybe you just have 3 letters you can accept and you can have that there. So I'm going to remove personalization. We don't want that on this candle. And then we can have our price. So let's call this price, let's say $17.49. And they show us our estimated profit as well after the fees from Etsy. And you can say, all right, our cost on this is actually $7.23. And they'll say, all right, your profit after Etsy fees now is $8.15. The quantity, we can go up to $9.99. So I'm going to say that's what we have. Of course, depending on your inventory, you don't want to sell more than you have and then have angry customers. So put that in accordingly. I usually just go for higher numbers though. We can add variations. So if you want to have different colors, if you want to have different sizes, different heights, different scents. So let's do different scents on this one. The first one could be maybe see if we have lavender. I'm going to create custom ones actually. So cedar, I want the ones that they're suggesting are a little bit not as, they're a little bit less detailed than I would like. So I'm going to say done. We can have variable prices on these, variable quantities and variable SKUs or stock keeping units. So we can say apply. In that way for each one, we could say, all right, the floral one is going to be maybe the same price. So maybe it's $18.99, $18.99. And maybe this one, the cedar, is an extra $1. Now you don't need to have stock keeping units necessarily when you're getting started, but if you have multiple products and you scale up to have like a small warehouse, then yeah, SKUs are actually quite valuable in tracking products, especially when they're in a closed box. Now, because we categorized this as a candle, the questions down here are relevant to the candle. Of course, yours is going to have something different here. It's not going to ask the wax type, but this is a beeswax candle, and I'm going to enter this information. And then finally, we have tags and materials down here. We can add up to 13 tags. And this, again, is a good idea to check out what other people are using for tags. And to find that, you can go down to explore related searches on any product. And generally, that's going to be the tags you're using. So candle, maybe we'll use beeswax candle, self-care. So now we have 13 tags. We can add our materials here. And then, of course, shipping, we can select profiles or create individual ones for each product. I'm going to say select profile. We don't have a profile yet for shipping, so I'll create a new one. We can say custom range and just say maybe like 1 to 8 days for shipping. That way, just in case it gets there sooner, it's kind of nice, but set expectations. It could be up to 8 days. What countries are we shipping to? You could say, hey, maybe this is only, let's deselect that, and only North America. Maybe that's what we want just for simplicity. Maybe even Canada, right? We can do that, and maybe Puerto Rico as well. If we look at the shipping services, they have quite a few here. And if you go to advanced ones, they have USPS media mail, and we have parcel ground. So just like the basic, USPS ground. These are all going to be a little faster. That's the real slow one. And we could have free domestic shipping, or we could have free international shipping, or you could have a handling fee as well and say, okay, when you're shipping, you got to factor in like your packaging and your tape. So maybe we're going to say like 45 cents. Save shipping profile. And now it will calculate everything for you whenever somebody's buying based on where they are and how much it's actually going to cost to ship to them. We can choose the weight now and the overall box size. And for customs information, you can add a tariff number. You can Google that separately if you are shipping internationally and depending on what your product is. And you can check out some previews right here. So if they live in maybe Denver, it's going to cost them $8.19 to ship it. So you could say, that's kind of expensive actually. Maybe you need to adjust your pricing accordingly and work with that. And then for renewal, it'll automatically renew for 20 cents each time if you want, or you can manually do it. I'm going to manually do it for now, and we can save and continue. Forgot the return policy. Let's apply this policy. They just suggest one right there, 30-day policy. I will say save and continue. You could build your own policy if you don't want that one. There we go. So we have our first listing. We could add more listings now or do it later. We're going to do that later. I want to talk about other listings, but let's get this up and running. And by the way, I think it's really important that you don't get what's called paralysis by analysis. If you're building your store, it's very easy to get sucked into this perfectionism where you really want to make the photos perfect, really make the description perfect. But ultimately, what somebody told me early on in my business career was the best way to succeed in business is to be in business. In other words, you can only learn so much from the sidelines. You learn so much more by actually getting in there and testing out products. So if you spend a month perfecting your images or 2 months perfecting those images, and then you start, you list the product finally after all that work, only to find out it doesn't really sell well, or somebody else launches one sooner and undercuts you. So the idea here is that you want to get your product out. You want to have a full product. You don't want to have like a half-baked product, but you want to get it out as quickly as you can just to have something on the market, and you can iterate on this. You can make better products, you can make better listings, and you can tweak your listing as well. But don't spend too much time. Don't get hung up on perfectionism. So this next step, as you can see on the top, is how you're going to get paid. So are you an individual or are you an LLC, a registered business entity? And you can change this later. So starting off, I'm just going to go with individual for now. And I'll enter my personal information down here. Then we can connect our bank account with Plaid. Now they're going to offer us $10 per month, which is going to get rid of the $30 fee and gives us 15 listing credits, as well as some credits for ads. I'm not going to do that right now. Feel free to do it if you want. And now they want us to set up two-factor authentication. There's 3 main ways you could do this. So they can call you, they could text you, or you could use an authenticator app. That's typically what I would recommend. But you do need to have that app. You need to have that phone with you. So here we go. We are on our dashboard. Congratulations. You made it significantly further than most people who think about opening an Etsy shop. You actually have a store now. You have, it's ready to go. You have a product on there. But let's talk about what the next steps are, starting off with understanding this dashboard. So we've got the dashboard right here and a bunch of other tabs on the left side. The dashboard changes over time. It kind of evolves with your store. You'll see the statistics down here as more people visit, you get more orders, revenue year over year, stuff like that. And Shop Advisor can give you suggestions as you need to do things. Right now, it's giving us some tax advice down there, but we can also see our listing. So we only have one product right now. If you want to have another product, you could simply add a listing on the top right, as you can see there. As this listing expires, September 2nd is when it's going to expire. You could select this and any others and simply renew right there. You could deactivate it at any time if you decide, hey, I really don't like this. I don't want this product to be sold. And we have other editing options as well, so we can edit in bulk the descriptions, personalization and things like that. So I'm not going to do that. You could, add a tag to all of them, for example. So just a good way to kind of update your SEO if you decided that you need to in the future. Additionally, we have a lot of filtering on the right side, so you can really have quite a few products on Etsy. And instead of like scrolling through and reading all of them, you could simply search for them, or you could just filter out, hey, only show me the active ones, only show me the expired ones that I need to renew, different things like that on the right side. We have messages here, and as you can see, we have some that are from Etsy. That's how you can distinguish the official ones versus scammers who might be messaging you and saying they're Etsy. So you'll see that over on the left side. Very important to make sure you don't get hacked. We have orders, of course, that you're going to want to keep up with this. So keep your notifications on if you're, managing the orders yourself, if you're actually fulfilling them and shipping everything. Otherwise, if you're doing like print on demand, or if it's a digital product, you don't need to worry about that actually at all. It'll just be done automatically on the back end. The Etsy search visibility, so we can add our shop icon. We haven't actually done that just yet, but that kind of reminds me, there's other things we haven't done for our shop. We'll get to that in a second, but you'll see statistics right here, give us some numbers about how many people visit our store. You can click across for orders, conversion rate, and revenue. Customer service stats as well. They'll tell us a little bit more about how successful we are with customer service whenever someone reaches out with a question. This is very, very important in a new store. You really want to have great customer service, go way above and beyond. And remember that you are both the manager, the CEO, and the lowest level of your company right now, assuming you're working alone. And so having good customer service is really, really important, even if it takes a lot of time, because you want them to give good reviews for your shop so you can start to grow and, again, rank higher on Etsy and get that kind of feedback that other people want to see before they buy from you. If we click on marketing, I'm not going to talk about Etsy ads in this video. I don't think you should do Etsy ads in the beginning. Once you find and really prove out a good product, then you can start putting some money behind it if you want to. But I want to point out right here the sales and discounts. So if you wanted to run a sale, or if you wanted to make a discount code or anything like that, you can manage that here. So you can set up remind buyers to check out. You can say thanks with a discount. So after they purchase something, you could send them, say like, hey, thanks for buying. Here's 10% off if you want to buy something else from our shop. When somebody favorites something, you could send them an offer and say, hey, I saw you added this to your favorites. Here's free shipping if you're interested in buying it today. And that way, again, you convert that into an actual order. And then promo codes, as I said, if you're doing any kind of social media marketing or you have a newsletter, anything that you're trying to get a promo code out there, that's a good way to set that up right here. And again, maybe you just send out like a Father's Day or Mother's Day weekend email with the discount code to just kind of encourage those orders. And this is an interesting one. I've never actually done this except offers from buyers. So some listings, if you wanted to have like the ability for people to set an offer, you could do that. Maybe that would make more sense if you have like a shop that sells vintage items, maybe thrifted kind of stuff, one-off items. Maybe that would make sense. But again, I've never had a product that really needed that specifically. It's cool that it's there though. We have apps, so you can connect to so many other things like Printify if you're doing print on demand, for example. Everbee, which is a good way to find other products. It does a lot of research. It's a research tool on Etsy, so you can learn a lot about what you're looking for. eRank is going to be your SEO, so that's kind of what I talked about earlier in this video. You can do a lot of the SEO on your own, but if you find it easier to use this or more beneficial for your business, absolutely, by all means, go for it. ShipStation is really good for tracking shipping and managing that end. There's a lot that you can set up here. I recommend browsing through these and see if any of them really make sense. Marmalede's another one that can do a lot of search, just like Everbee. QuickBooks, your accountant might want you to set that up. But like I said, you don't need these in the beginning. Some of these are very powerful. Browse through them, maybe try a free version of some of them. And if you like it, then of course use those. But then down here, you see sales channels. I'm going to click on the first one, which is our shop. And that brings us to our shop. Now we need to do a little bit on this shop to make it look better. For one, we're going to click edit shop, and I want to add a profile photo. So let's choose a file. Let's go with that icon. Just found that on Google. I'm going to go with that one for now, just for the purpose of example right here. And then let's choose our banner. Let's choose a profile photo of me. We can add a banner by clicking on the top. We can make it a mini banner or a big banner. And you can design all of this, by the way, in Canva. That's really the tool I would recommend. You get the nice dimensions, basically a full template there, and just adding the images and the text that you want to. That would work best for your shop. So let's go with the mini banner. No, I'm going to go with big banner, actually. Say done. Let's add an image. Click on save. That's not the best one, but that's what I'm going to use for the sake of just having something there for this video. We can add a shop title as well. So there we go, our description. We can set our location as well. We can add shop announcements down here, and maybe you'd announce new products or sales or something like that. We can also add a featured area to highlight certain listings. So I'll say done. We're going to add our only listing that we have right there. So featured items, if you have some of your best sellers, you want to have them on top, and then all other items are down here. We can add some photos, and we can add captions as well as video to talk about what we do. So maybe like how we make the products, maybe what our shop looks like. Just give a little bit more personality to your store so that it's more relatable. So people see this and they're like, all right, I'm buying this from an artist. I'm buying it from a person, not just some giant conglomerate Amazon blob, right? They want to feel like they're buying it from a real person, and it's kind of the story of the product they're actually buying. So you can fill out that, again, add story headline, tell your story, add links to your social media and to your website. So if you make a Shopify, for example, or a WordPress website, you can link those right here. So again, you can sell on other platforms, potentially with lower fees. And you can add a bio with some fun facts about yourself down here. The policies, I'm going to say, try it now. We're going to set up some shop policies. Let's create a policy. The first one, we've got returns, we've got exchanges, 30 days delivery. So let's say within 21 days of delivery. We want to change that a little bit. We can save, and same thing over in cancellations. You can create a policy here, and there's a template that Etsy is really giving us right here. So maybe we don't accept cancellations. Privacy policy, make your own privacy policy, put that here, and of course other fixed policies over there. Let's go back to where we were. I'm just going to click the back button to get back to our shop. You could also click on the little sales channel on the bottom left. You can add some FAQs. So people might say, is this candle natural? Are these handmade? How do you make them? Where do you buy them? Different things like that. And so you can add some FAQs down there just to answer those questions. Again, the goal here is to not only increase purchases, but reduce returns and reduce complaints by just answering the questions people might have. Additionally, this should free up a lot of your time being customer service if you just have a really good page that answers all of the questions. So let's say view shop now, and it shows us this is what the shop looks like. Pretty bare bones right now because we only have one product on here, but if they click on the product, we can see what that listing looks like. Again, pretty good. A bunch of little check marks right there, shows when you get it. They can select an option for some different scents. They can buy one, they can add to the cart, and we've got a lot of stuff down here. And there is, of course, our description of it. So what it's for, that's going to show you everything down there. So there's two more things I want to talk about, two very important things before ending this video. One is going to be how you can make more products. So if we go back up to listings, I'm going to add one more quick product. I think this is very important to demonstrate. I'm going to say add listing, and this is going to be, let's say this is going to be download patterns and blueprints. Say continue. It's a digital file. This is going to be digital, not a physical one. And let's just say it's like a plant germination shelving, right? Maybe you build some shelves and you want to show people how you can do that. And this applies to any digital file. Maybe it's music, maybe it's some art that they can print, maybe it's a little journal or notebook. You can have any of those on here. Lots of different files you can set up. So I'll say continue. Again, nothing too crazy here. I'm not adding a lot because I already showed you how to do that. But here you'll see add a digital file. So we're going to upload the file. We'll say open it. Now we have that file there. You can add multiple files as well. So if you have maybe a CAD file, maybe it's a 3D printing, so an STL file, and then maybe you have like a little user manual on how to set it up and how to run the print and stuff like that. You can have multiple files that are all downloadable right here. Then we'll add the description. Again, if you want to add personalization, you can have that over here. We'll add the price, we'll add the details, we'll add the type, and everything else down below that. But I just wanted to show you where you can add that digital file, and when that's purchased, they'll automatically have that downloaded. I made a full video talking about digital products and selling them online. If you haven't already watched that, I recommend watching that. I'll have that link down below. There are a lot of advantages to having that. Now, the final thing I want to talk about with this store. This is going to be the next steps moving forward. So there are a couple ways you can do this. What I would really recommend is this path here. First, make sure your search engine optimization is good. You want to make sure that your listing is ready to go. So kind of double check everything. Make sure you got keywords there, you got your tags right, your descriptions filled out. That's going to be good. I really recommend going the organic route first. Don't spend money on ads until you have a validated product that people actually buy. You should start seeing some orders probably within like 3 to 4 weeks. If you don't, I mean, I would give it no more than like 4 months before it's like, all right, if you haven't had an order in 4 months, try some different products. And I recommend trying a bunch of different products in your store at the same time when you launch your store. Maybe, I mean, don't overwhelm yourself, but if you can get 3 to 5 products, that's a pretty good start there. Now, what you want to do to kind of grow organically is you are going to need some reviews. So see if you can find anyone to, maybe you have contacts, maybe you post on Facebook, maybe you post on Instagram, anyone you know, try to get people to buy that, buy your product and give you those reviews. And maybe you just have to get your friends or people you know to buy it and leave you a review. And maybe you just, on the side, reimburse them with cash for making that purchase and helping you out. But you want to build out with like some reviews so you're not a brand new store with no orders and no reviews. All right, so that's my tutorial on how to open up an Etsy shop. I hope you found this helpful, and I really wish you all the best of luck with your online stores. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions, and definitely let me know what you're selling on Etsy. I would love to be a customer, and I'm excited to hear about all your success on this platform. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike with Santrel Media, and I'll see you in the next video.